My name is Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis. We have employed state-of-the-art technology using fiber optic cable across the island of Nevis and using CCTV surveillance. The idea here is a commitment from my government to have a safer and more secure island for our citizens and residents. And so this was a massive investment made by us in running fiber optic cable across the island, in putting in cameras, and in commissioning just recently this center, which acts as a nerve center for the entire system island-wide. We are taking and using technology to take security to the next level here on the island of Nevis, and we're very proud about this collaboration that we've done to create for the island a much safer and secure environment. My name is Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis. We have employed state-of-the-art technology using fiber optic cable across the island of Nevis and using CCTV surveillance. The idea here is a commitment from my government to have a safer and more secure island for our citizens and residents. And so this was a massive investment made by us in running fiber optic cable across the island, in putting in cameras, and in commissioning just recently this center, which acts as a nerve center for the entire system island-wide. We are taking and using technology to take security to the next level here on the island of Nevis, and we're very proud about this collaboration that we've done to create for the island a much safer and secure environment. My name is Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis. We have employed state-of-the-art technology using fiber optic cable across the island of Nevis and using CCTV surveillance. The idea here is a commitment from my government to have a safer and more secure island for our citizens and residents. And so this was a massive investment made by us in running fiber optic cable across the island, in putting in cameras, and in commissioning just recently this center, which acts as a nerve center for the entire system island-wide. We are taking and using technology to take security to the next level here on the island of Nevis, and we're very proud about this collaboration that we've done to create for the island a much safer and secure environment. My name is Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis. We have employed state-of-the-art technology using fiber optic cable across the island of Nevis and using CCTV surveillance. The idea here is a commitment from my government to have a safer and more secure island for our citizens and residents. And so this was a massive investment made by us in running fiber optic cable across the island, in putting in cameras, and in commissioning just recently this center, which acts as a nerve center for the entire system island-wide. We are taking and using technology to take security to the next level here on the island of Nevis, and we're very proud about this collaboration that we've done to create for the island a much safer and secure environment. My name is Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis. We have employed state-of-the-art technology using fiber optic cable across the island of Nevis and using CCTV surveillance. The idea here is a commitment from my government to have a safer and more secure island for our citizens and residents. And so this was a massive investment made by us in running fiber optic cable across the island, in putting in cameras, and in commissioning just recently this center, which acts as a nerve center for the entire system island-wide. We are taking and using technology to take security to the next level here on the island of Nevis, and we're very proud about this collaboration that we've done to create for the island a much safer and secure environment.
Hall meeting. Our last two meetings were public meetings. We were in the heart of Bansgot, my village, and we were in Chickenstone before that. Now we are back in a town hall meeting format, and we are ready to engage everyone with their questions. I want to welcome all our supporters, all those who are viewing online via our social media page, Concerned Citizens Movement, or YouTube page, CCM Nevis, our website, ccmnevis.com. We want to welcome you again, and we are looking forward to a fruitful discussion tonight. I am your moderator, Ms. Latoya Bianca-Jones. I am the Deputy Chair of the Concerned Citizens Movement and President of the CCM Women's Arm. Tonight we have our 3 representatives. Some may say candidates, but you're candidates, but still my representatives. And so I would like to introduce them. Our Premier and Leader, Honorable Mark A.G. Brantley, representative of constituency number 9. Honorable Eric Evelyn, representative of constituency number 10. And our Deputy Premier and Deputy Leader, Honorable Alexis Jeffers, representative of constituency 11. Like before, we're going to ask everyone to share your questions on our social media page. Those who are here, you will be given an opportunity to ask your questions as well. Before we get into the questions, I would like to express sincerest gratitude to everyone who reached out and shared their questions with me. I would really try my best to cover. Last time we didn't cover all the questions, but we are going to address them today, and the new ones as well. Those that we don't cover, we will definitely do so in the future. Before we get into the questions, I would ask each representative to give brief opening remarks, and we would begin with Honorable Alexis Jeffers.
Thank you very much, Latoya, and chairperson for this evening's town hall. I want to start by saying good night to all who are listening and viewing this town hall this evening. Of course, we have many followers, so you're all welcome, and I want to welcome those of you who are here at the Cove this evening. It is indeed an honor to be back here to dialogue with the general public and also to answer questions as they come along. Of course, we are always happy to come to meet the public, greet the public, and also to answer questions from the public. And that is what you do as representatives, because you must avail yourself to the people to respond accordingly. Now, tonight we're here, of course, for the second of such meetings, town hall meeting that is. And indeed, we're here to say to the Nevis public that we have been campaigning on a particular issue that is a burning issue and one that we feel is important to the island of Nevis and the people of Nevis. And we will not resile from the fact that we are campaigning on the fact that we are seeking to get our fair share of the citizenship by investment, or the CBI receipts that continue to grow day after day. I will say to you at this present moment, Latoya, that I am absolutely certain that a passport may have been sold at this very minute while we're here sitting. So it is a continuous thing. And when we speak about our fair share, we know what we are speaking about, because the numbers are not lying at all. The numbers are there, even though we have been saying from time to time that perhaps it is more than what we are speaking about. And that is why we continue to champion this cause, because the CCM has been the one who has pioneered this issue. We are the ones who had the vision in the first place. I will say to you further that I have never heard the other side, or the NRP, champion this cause since 2008 to this particular point in time. If they're speaking about fair share now, it is because of the CCM who would have pushed this issue, and we continue to do so. And we will not resile from the fact that we, as Nevision, must get our equitable share. And I am happy that I'm a part of this team that is championing this cause as well. I will say further, I know you said to be brief, but I will say further, that at least I asked the question last Thursday night, and I would ask the question from the onset. When you look at the team that the CCM has put forward, in the Honorable Mark Brantley, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, and myself, and compare to what you have out there on the other side, meaning the 2 other parties, one has to say that the CCM presents the best team and the best 3 candidates or representatives that can champion the cause of the people of Nevis and St. Kitts. I will say to you further as well that if you were to compare the candidate in Nevis 9 to our candidate in Mark Brantley, well, she has already said exactly what she intends to do. She don't intend to work. She intends to collect a paycheck and do nothing for it. Mark Brantley has said that he's going back to champion the cause of the people of Nevis 9 and by extension the people of Nevis. In the candidate in Nevis 10, you have Eric Evelyn, who has demonstrated that he's a hard worker. He's willing to fight for the people of Nevis 10 and by extension the people of Nevis. I will say to you, the candidate that is running against the Honorable Eric Evelyn, when asked to exert more effort in his work at the Department of Agriculture, he refused to. As far as I'm concerned, he indicated that he was not willing to work. He resigned from his position there at the Ministry of Agriculture. When you ask people to work and put out an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, you expect that to be done. That wasn't the case there. Of course, you look at the candidate that is running against myself in St. James. Well, she was the one who clearly said 2 years ago that she decided after living in this island for over 20 years, she just decided one day to get up and get into politics. You ask yourself the question, is she doing it for the love of the island of Nevis or for some ulterior motive or some ulterior gains? And I want the people of Nevis 11 to ask the hard questions when we come around as candidates, because I've been answering those questions time and time again. The hard questions will be asked, and the answers, I'm sure, would be the ones that the people will gravitate to in terms of the answers that suit their cause, and not someone who is just merely contesting an election because of selfish motives or selfish gains. So we'll discuss more about all of the issues regarding the CBI receipts, what will be done with those monies, and we'll certainly put the case out there for the Nevisian public, 9, 10, and 11, to vote for the three of us once again to continue with the great representation that we've had in Basti over the last 2 years. So Dr. I will speak some more as we develop the discussion this evening. Thank you.
Honorable Eric Evelyn.
Good night. Thank you very much, Latoya. And let me say good night to all. I want to especially greet those who are here at the Cove, some of our very dedicated supporters. And of course, greet those who are viewing online. I know that once this great party, this Big Blue Machine, is hosting any event, that we normally have a lot of followers online from all over the globe. And so we want to especially greet you wherever you are. And we want to thank you for joining us. And of course, I want to particularly congratulate you, Latoya, for doing an excellent job the last time. And I guess because you did such a great job the last time, why you're back again this year, tonight for this particular town hall. I just want to say that it is indeed a pleasure for me to be back here with my colleagues who will be vying for seats in the federal government, the federal parliament again this year. And I just want to tell the good people of Nevis that very soon you'll be asked to make a decision. And as the days go by, as the weeks go by, as the months go by, the clock continues to tick. And very soon, I believe very soon, we'll be hearing a date. And so we're asking you to get yourselves ready so you can continue to support myself, Honorable Alexis Jeffers, and Honorable Mark Brantley. So indeed, we are delighted to be back with you, to dialogue with you again this evening. And it is indeed certainly a pleasure for me to be here.
Thank you. Honorable Premier.
Latoya, thank you and good evening. Like my colleagues, I'm very, very happy to be here and to engage, because for us, this is what the CCM is all about. Engaging with the public, taking the message of hope to the public. I believe that this team that we have asked the people of Nevis to invest in us, their trust and confidence, yet again, is the best team that is available to the people of Nevis at this point in our history. I believe that we've demonstrated our commitment to fight for the people of Nevis. When we were in opposition, we did so. And even whilst we were in government, we did so. We have never, ever forgotten why we are in Bastia. We have gone to Bastia to work. We've gone to Bastia to represent. And that is why I believe the people have confidence in the Blue Team, the Concerned Citizens Movement. Both of my colleagues are here. Their tenure as ministers has been cut short. But as I have said, it is but a temporary hiatus. It is but a short vacation, because very soon we will be back in Church Street with the help of the electorate of Nevis. We are hoping that you will continue to repose that trust and confidence in us, so that 9, 10, and 11 will be restored to the Concerned Citizens Movement. And that all three of us will be allowed to go back to Bastia to continue the important work that we started and that has been interrupted. Interrupted not because of anything that we did, interrupted because some people decide that they want to be dictators in this country. They want to have the prime ministership for life. And we have said no. We have said that the people of Nevis must matter. In fact, our motto, that our people matter most, has always guided us. And we do not care who sits in the chair prime minister. They must deal fairly with the people of Nevis. And if they're not willing to do that, then the CCM cannot support them. It is as simple as that. And so I am happy to be here. I look forward to the questions. I'm particularly pleased that we've had a good online following for these town hall meetings. And I too welcome those who have come to Caribbean Cove this evening. But we look forward to the online questions because I'm always interested in knowing what our people are most curious about. And so we are here to answer the questions, and we look forward to an excellent evening of ideas and an exchange of information.
As we speak about our online viewers, I want to encourage those who are online, tell a friend to come and hear what our representatives have to say. We're here to discuss the issues, and we're here to shed light on the way forward for Nevis. Now, I receive many interesting questions, and I do want to cover as many as we can tonight, and we are also taking questions from online and on the floor. So I would proceed. The campaign in Nevis has begun in earnest. Well, as we can clearly see, CCM is campaigning for Nevis's money, or what we would say, or fair share, while the opposition is campaigning for Timothy. I mean, that's no secret, it's public. But the question is, why is fair share the central issue for the CCM party? So it's open, floor is open, anyone can, address this.
Well, if I can,
Yes, you can.
let me say that the issue of fair share, that is a language that we have coined. But it is not only about money. It is principally about the people of Nevis getting their equitable share of the CBI proceeds. And we understand that the Citizenship by Investment program has generated billions of dollars that have flowed into Bastia. I think the people of our country must understand that the money has flowed into Bastia because Bastia is where all citizenship applications are processed. So even if the application originates in Nevis, even if it is from a development that is being done in Nevis, the money still go to Bastia. So I want that to be clear so people understand why it is that an equitable share from those in charge in Bastia is so important for us. Now, Dr. Harris, during his tenure as Prime Minister, has hidden the numbers. He has tried to hide the numbers. He has never brought to the cabinet a report about what the CBI has been doing. In all the years that we've been there, we've been agitating. And so I had to ask a small team of 3 here in Nevis to comb through all the numbers that they could find, going through different documents in order to decipher and determine how much, and that is why I agree with the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, that we still don't know if we have unearthed the full amount. But what we were able to find up to last year, 2021, was $5.3 billion.
Wow.
5.3 billion, or as somebody said to me, 5,300 million. And of that, we keep hearing that the people of Nevis have got $400 million. And we are to account for it, what happened to that, and all of this kind of argument that is being advanced. And I have said that the 400 million accounts for a mere 7% of that money. St. Kitts has kept for itself 93% of that money, in circumstances where the agreement was that the people of Nevis would get a pro rata share based on population, which would have meant that we should get 25%. Now, why is this important? I want our people to understand that this is important because Nevis also has its development needs. We need roads, we need water, we need electricity, we need healthcare, we need education. All of those things are responsibilities of the Nevis Island administration. And so when, on the one hand, our money is deprived, we are deprived of the resources that properly belong to the people of Nevis. It means, therefore, that our ability to execute important projects, We want a stadium at the Mondo track. We want to complete the hospital facility. The roads, the Island Main Road needs to be attended to in some parts. We have important projects that need to be done. Geothermal exploration. We have a debt that is hanging over us that was exacerbated during COVID. We want to pay it off or pay it down. And we want to have some money in the bank because we don't know if a hurricane will come this year. All of these things we could do if we were getting what belongs to us. In fact, on our analysis, Nevis is now owed over $1 billion. That is the reality that we face. And so I have asked our people to look at this issue in a critical way. Because when we are deprived of the resources that belong to the people of Nevis, and when on the other hand in St. Kitts you hear surplus after surplus, savings in the bank, buying back land from the land for debt swap, and freeness everywhere, we recognize that the resources that belong to both of us, the resources that belong to both islands, one country, are being dealt with in a way that clearly is lopsided and unfair to the people of Nevis. But I do not want fair share to be seen only in the context of CBI, although that is a big issue. Yeah. It also has to be looked at in the context of opportunity. I was alarmed, for example, to find out just 2 or 3 weeks ago that the peace program that all of us support and all of us supported, which is intended to be an alternative pathway for young people, to put them on a pathway where they'll invest time and energy in a small business, in a job, and certainly assist in national development. That this peace program had 1,225 people on it. 1,225 as of a few weeks ago. And of that, Nevis had 71.
71?
71 out of 1,225.
Wow.
They're telling Nevis the programs are closed, they're not adding anybody. So the last people that went onto that program in Nevis was August of 2021, nearly a year ago. But in St. Kitts every week, people are being added. They have monies at the development bank to offer loans to these youngsters so they could start a little business. The youngsters in Nevis are applying. When they apply, they can't even get an answer. So fair share also applies to them. We talk about PAP, the Poverty Alleviation Program. This again was a program that we designed, that we supported, to give $500 to households that were earning less than $3,000. And I had to go into my trunk, and I have some information. And could you imagine, let me take off my glasses, because I can't. I apologize to the audience. I don't need glasses to read. But could you imagine that for May, the month of May, this year, that there were 5,606 people on the PAP. 5,606 people on the PAP. And in Nevis, only 700. Out of 5,606.
That cannot be.
They have told us repeatedly in St. Kitts, no new people can be added. Yes. But I have the information also from February. And that shows that between February and May, they've added over 300 people in St. Kitts. Not one person has been added on the island of Nevis. So when we talk about fair share, we're also talking about the opportunity for Nevis and the people in Nevis to benefit from these social programs. We all experienced the hurricane of 2017, the hurricane season, let me say, of 2017. And the difficulties that Nevis experienced during that time. We had a discussion back then, this was before Alexis and Eric joined us in the federal cabinet. But we had a discussion at the time. We were told, get the Nevis Disaster Management to do an assessment to see what the damage was like. They did a preliminary assessment, I think, that was produced within days of the storms in 2017. And that preliminary assessment that was produced within days of the storms in 2017 came out to somewhere in the region of $3.5 million. $3.5 million. And we in Nevis said, this is the preliminary assessment of the damage. They decided that they would have a roofing program. And so they will deal with seeking to assist persons who had a difficulty in terms of their roofs, being damaged. I have recently found out, because that again is shrouded in secrecy, that Nevis got this $3.5 million, and I think the public needs to hear this. Nevis got their $3.5 million to fix roofs in Nevis. St. Kitts has thus far spent over $70 million in St. Kitts. People in St. Kitts get whole house. Several of them built in constituency number 7. So just think about it. All of this from the citizenship by investment money. So when we talk about fair share, it is not just about the cash that is important. It's also about the opportunity. It's also about saying to the people of Nevis, listen, if your roof got damaged, if you needed some assistance with your home, that assistance was also available to you. How could you justify $70+ million in St. Kitts, 3.5 million in Nevis? And so when we say that these things are unacceptable, it is not that we are bashing St. Kitts or we are anti-St. Kitts. We are saying whoever sits in Church Street as a prime minister has to recognize that he or she has a responsibility to the entire country. And not as we hear from Timothy Harris, that every dollar we send Nevis is $1 left for St. Kitts. $1 less for St. Kitts. That tells me that he doesn't understand his role as prime minister. He's not the premier of St. Kitts. He's the prime minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I believe very passionately that this issue of fair share is a broad issue that covers a number of areas in which the people of Nevis have not been able to access on an equitable basis the resources of the country. And it has to stop. And we will put a stop to it.
I just wanted to totally agree and endorse all of what the Premier would have said with regards to fair share. And I think it's part of human nature that people want to be treated fairly. And I believe all of us as humans desire to be treated fairly at all times. Not sometimes, but all times. And of course, the facts are there. Because the good thing I like about this CCM party, and especially about my leader and the Premier, that he always has the facts. We don't pull things out of the hat. We speak facts in this party. And the data is always there. The evidence is always there to back up what we're saying. Mm-hmm. And the facts are there. You heard some of the facts tonight, the alarming facts. Some of those facts are alarming. And for anyone in Nevis or in St. Kitts or anywhere else to think that we are strange in the Concerned Citizens movement to be asking for our fair share, then I think you need to think again, because I said, as human beings, we all desire to be treated fairly. Now, I've always said that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, we have an excellent relationship, personally, person to person. And we must continue to say that in no way what we are saying or what we are agitating for is that we are trying to go against anybody in St. Kitts or any government in the federal setup. The fact is, we on Nevis and you on St. Kitts, we are all equal. We are equal partners. St. Kitts and Nevis, we are one federation, 2 islands. But even though St. Kitts is the bigger of the 2, we are all equal. The federation's passport said St. Kitts and Nevis. And so if we are equal and you have CBI revenue, which is all federal revenue, then why should we be cheated out of our share? Of course, we've heard so much about the agreement that was signed on the steps in Charlestown, on the courthouse steps. And we believe that that agreement should be honored. And that is why we will continue as a party to agitate for our fair share. That is a refrain that I think all divisions need to have on their lips, and especially during this campaign, because we will continue to agitate and we will continue to stand up and we will continue to demand until a government sits in Bastille that will represent all of us and ensure that we on the island of Nevis get what we truly deserve, which is our fair share.
Mr. Jeff, has anything to add?
Well, my 2 colleagues here on the platform have certainly made a good case. A compelling case, I must say, to add. But when I started on the campaign trail, I indicated that if there is any party out there that is contesting this election, and they're not speaking the language that the CCM is talking about fair share, it therefore means that they are campaigning to deny the people of Nevis their fair share and what is rightfully ours. When you look at the numbers that were just mentioned by the premiers, these are glaring numbers. And any party that does not share the same view that we share in terms of fighting for what is rightfully ours, then it therefore means that the people of Nevis will be sold short. And some are willing to sell out the island of Nevis and the people of Nevis just for political gains. Now, we have shown over the years that we are willing to stand up as a party. This party was formed primarily to stand up for the people of Nevis. And we have demonstrated that over the years. You go back to 1998 when we stood up for the people of Nevis, when we invoked Clause 113. I don't want to start to talk about secession at this point in time, but I'm telling you, the CCM was the party that had the backbone to do that. When there were issues that threatened our financial services sector then, we were willing to stand up as a party and say, well, hey, this is a revenue stream that is for the island of Nevis. It was not a federal issue, but some saw it otherwise. And I want to say that to this point in time, the opposition, the NRP, has clearly demonstrated that they're not willing to stand up for the people of Nevis. They have failed the people of Nevis in many regards. And I just want to give an example for, that I mentioned about a week ago, where I mentioned that during the years 2008 to January 2013, those Labour NRP years, you talk about fair share and you talk about standing up for Nevis. I will tell you the NRP did nothing for the island of Nevis to stand up for its people then. By the World Bank data that we would have collected, over 80-something projects came into the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis from all our partner countries, donor countries. Well in excess of $230 million worth of projects. I made the point, but some would cut and splice and suggest, what did we do? We have done a hell of a job in St. Kitts since 2020. I can speak for myself, because that's when I became a member of the federal parliament. But prior to that, the Honorable Mark Brantley and the Honorable Van Samry, God bless his soul, would have done an excellent job to stand up and represent. But when you look at what happened between 2008 to 2013, January of 2013, all of these projects came into the Federation, zero came to Nevis. Since then, we are looking at the period of time we've been there. I can point to, for example, the Malcolm Gishard Park, that recreational center. That was a partnership between the Nevis Island Administration and the Republic of China, Taiwan. Grant funds were involved in that. And that was through the instrumentality of Premier Brantley, who would have brought that project. Wonderful project. But we cannot point to one thing that the NRP has brought with their partnership, whether with the Labour Party or anyone prior, that we can point to suggest that they have done a job of representing the people of Nevis. That is why the choice is very clear this time around. And I will not resile from the fact that the CCM has always stood up, and we continue to stand up. And our mandate was taken away from us because we chose to stand up for the island of Nevis and the people of Nevis. And if it has to happen again, we'll continue to stand. And if that is our faith, that will be our faith. But I will tell you this much, that we are Nevisians first. And Eric is correct. We're not fighting a battle between St. Kitts and Nevis. But if anyone in St. Kitts do not agree with our stance of fair share for Nevis, they don't love Nevis. And that's why we should love Nevis even more as a result. But I was born here. I'm a citizen of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. But I must give account of my stewardship to the people of Nevis, the constituency I represent and the people that I represent. That is why fair share will always be front and center in our dialogue, and that is what we'll champion from now, moving forward and into the future.
I do like the fact that you said Nevisians first. And it is important that the people here, Nevisians are first. Based on the numbers I heard tonight, there is no way, regardless of who you support, that you can say that this is fair. And I think sometimes we need to sit back and think outside of politics and see things for what they truly are. This cannot be fair to Nevisians. and the facts are there to prove it. Now we move right along. We've been hearing about this $4 million, and we've heard
Over
many,
100.
400, sorry, million dollars. And we've been hearing many different things about it. What is the 400 million about, and how have we utilized the 400 million?
Well, let me take that question, because I think as Premier and Minister of Finance, I have been charged with managing the financial affairs of Nevis since December of 2017. Of course, this $400 million would have come over a period of 2015 until now. So it's a period of 7 years. And I want our people to understand that Nevis never got a check for 400 million. We got money that came in dribs and drabs over the period of time. We were initially receiving $2.5 million a month. Then that went to $3.75 million a month. And only recently we have gone to $5.5 million a month, because I put my foot down and I said that I want $5.5 million a month until June, that is this month, because I expect that by June this matter will be resolved. As it turns out, the government collapsed, and we will take care of that in the next few weeks when we go back to Church Street. But people ask the question, what has been done? And to me, when people ask that question, they're being disingenuous. They're being disingenuous because we have explained over and over what the demands are on the island of Nevis and what we have done with the resources. You look around, you see various projects on the island. You see the water taxi pier at Wally. Tens of thousands of people use that pier over the course of the period of time since it was there. Culture Armor Music Festival, tourism peak season, that action spot over there. We have been so successful with that installation, which, might I remind the people of Nevis, that the water taxi industry, if I can use that language, is 100% Nevision owned.
Correct.
100%. And so we invested in them, and that has transformed transportation between St. Kitts and Nevis. We look at the Mondo track and the thousands of people that have used that facility. We can only look at this recent success of the interprimary to demonstrate how useful that has been. We look at Charlestown Primary School going to St. Kitts and dominating in St. Kitts, the first ever Rams Relay Championship. Emerging champions. And that we sent 4 schools to St. Kitts and all 4 placed in the top 10. That is an investment in our youth, an investment in our people. We look at the Newcastle Police Station. We look at the Treasury Building in Charlestown, the CCTV Center, Command Center. We go up by Eric, he's very proud of the David Freeman Center of Excellence.
Stay up there. We can help you with some, because you have the Joyce
And I'm sure Joyce Kitchen. If we continue to talk, we talk about road construction,
And you know, we keep
butlers,
forgetting the generators.
Brown Hill, the generators at Nevlek, not 1, not 2.
I think it
but
is wise to name them all if we can.
You know,
because
we look, but those are just capital projects. But then we look at the hospital, which is ongoing. We look at the purchase of ambulances. We look at the purchase of PPEs during COVID. People forget that for 2 years, Nevis was essentially locked down. Businesses were closed. And I am proud of the fact, Latoya, that during the 2 years of COVID, every public servant, every employee of our statutory corporations, and every pensioner on the island of Nevis received their pay or their pension in full and on time. Other people were getting IOU. Not in Nevis, people got their money in full and on time. Bear in mind that when we were getting $3.75 million a month as an interim payment, which it looks to me like Timothy Harris wanted to make permanent. He doesn't understand the word interim. When we were getting that as an interim payment, it came out to $45 million a year. But our wage bill alone for the NIA, I'm not even counting the statutory corporations like Nevlek, NASPA, NTA, NHLDC. I'm just dealing with the employees of the NIA and pensioners. We are averaging $8.5 million per month. So if you're getting 3.75 from St. Kitts, And you're spending 8.5 just on wages and salaries per month. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
We can't even get enough to pay our public servants. Because when we get that 3.75, we still have to find another 5 million every month just to satisfy. In a period during COVID, when Four Seasons shut down, Nisbet closed, hotels closed, people at home, and we are still called upon during COVID to provide resources to our people. We provided resources to agriculture. We pivoted hard, as you know, to food security and food production. We provided resources to healthcare. A lot of projects that we had planned when we did our budget in 2019, we had to put on the shelf. And we had to divert that money to keep our people safe. We provided resources to renovating all of our schools and trying to make them COVID-proof. To providing devices for our children so they could continue online learning when they couldn't come to school because of the risks of COVID. This island went through so much to keep our people safe, to keep our people employed where we could, to keep our people clothed and fed with a roof over their head. That was our responsibility. And I'm very proud. You know, the other day, Latoya, I met some people at Sunshines. Don't know who they are. Some Caucasians. And they said to me, when they were leaving, they came over and said, could they say hello? I said, of course. And they said, we just want to thank you, sir. I said, thank me for what? He said, you all kept this island safe. He said, we felt so proud because we stayed here for most of the time because you were safer here than they were in big America. That is what we were able to do. So when people ask, what did you do with the money? I believe it is disingenuous. I have somebody running against me who drives on a brand new road in Brownhill every day and say, nothing happening in Nevis. And she's old enough because she's well over 60 to know that for over 50 years that road was never touched. And I went to my colleagues and I said, the people of Brownhill deserve to have a proper road. And thanks to Public Works, they have an excellent road now through Brownhill. Look at Hanley's Road. What has happened there? Eric and I grew up as boys in Hanley's Road, retired stump with toe, walking on stone. Look at Hanley's Road now. Look at what we're doing in Butlers. Look at the Island Main Road from Cotton Ground. Right? We have shown so much to the people of Nevis in terms of development. The park at Pinnes, one of the most beautiful installations. Thousands of people are visiting that park. We just had one of the biggest fete ever seen in the history of Nevis Tropics that happened there last weekend.
And the park is still standing.
And the park is still standing strong. Thousands of people. That is visionary thinking. Again, resources used by the NIA partnering with Taiwan to produce that Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. So when I hear this constant chatter about what happened to the money, people are either not listening or they are being mischievous and trying to mislead the public. And I end by saying this. I invite the people of Nevis not to swallow the narrative that is coming from Timothy Harris. Because every time Timothy Harris speaks, he is very eloquent about what Nevis has got. He has never once mentioned how much zinc it's get. Never once. And I have made the point that if me and my brother, let me speak proper English, if my brother and I have a cake to share, and my brother keeps giving me a little slice, I have no idea whether or not I've got a fair share of the cake because I need to know what the size of the cake is in order for me to know if the piece that I've got is fair. Is it equitable? And the size of the cake is shrouded in secrecy because the man who's the keeper of the records, the Minister of Finance federally, he now talk about that. He doesn't want to confront that. And I am frankly ashamed that there's some on my island of Nevis, people credited with spending a lot of time in school, have PhD and all kind of PH and D behind the name. And they swallow that argument hook, line, and sinker. I heard somebody the other night say, I ain't not interested in knowing what happened to no billions and sinkits. But it's our money. It is our money, and I want to make that pellucid, that we are not here talking about VAT or tax money generated in St. Kitts, you know. We have never addressed that. We are talking about the resources that have come in through the Citizenship by Investment program. The negotiation of our St. Kitts Nevis passport. That is what we're talking about. And that accounts in some years for over 50% of the revenue in St. Kitts. I challenge anybody to look at our budget. Our pittance that we get for CBI has never accounted for any more than about 25% of the Nevis budget. But in St. Kitts, in some years, it is 52 and 54% of their budget. That speaks volumes. And so I want our people, I don't mind having the debate. The debate is important. But let's have a real debate. Let's talk about when we get our fair share, what we're going to do with it. How are we going to develop Nevis? This nonsense about you can't see where the money has gone. When every month people collected their pay here when there was no revenue coming in. I believe we deserve a medal for being magicians because we had to work magic. And I want to thank these gentlemen here with me and my other colleagues in cabinet because they know how much we agonized. Agonized every Wednesday. You have health. Come in, I need this, I need that. And we're still trying to do, some of the projects that we committed to do. We try to keep people safe. Trying to ensure that people have access, the children have access to school and schooling, even when they were out. That is what this government has done. And I am passionate about it because I think that the people of Nevis are being hoodwinked by this argument about where the money gone. And we keep wasting time having to point out the obvious. That's like me telling somebody I'm a man. Well, they can't say I'm a man. They look like a man, I talk like a man, I'm a man. The obvious, but having to point it out time and time again because those on the other side have swallowed this line. I know they don't have a choice because if they want the funding from Timothy, they have to say what Timothy wants them to say. But we must in Nevis understand that the difficult questions have to be asked. And we demand that they be answered in a way that is fair to the people of Nevis. And I just want to make one final point, addendum, that fairness to Nevis does not mean unfairness to St. Kitts. We're talking about fair share for all. For the people of St. Kitts and for the people of Nevis. And if we're truly brothers and sisters, if we're truly citizens of this great country, then every one of us, Tutmun Saman Bagay, is entitled to get their fair share. We can't have citizens and some are more equal than others. All of us are equal citizens, and all of us must be entitled to the full fruits of our citizenship.
I just wanted to add very quickly, though, because we must continue to dispel the notion out there, because I said it at the last town hall meeting, and I think we, as the candidates, and all of us who are part of the CCM, we must continue to dispel the notion that we got a check for $400 million. Because a lot of people still think that we got $400 million at one time. It was spread over 7 years. The Premier spoke very well about that. And the fact that we got it over a 7-year period, and St. Kitts would have kept over $5 billion over a 7-year period, that is chalk and cheese. And so I do not want our people in Nevis to continue to swallow the nonsense that we got $400 million at one time. And it is strange because even some of our supporters are actually taking the pill. I spoke to someone recently who is our supporter, and he said he had to take pains to explain to one of our supporters the $400 million didn't come one time. It was spread over 7 years. And so we just want to continue to dispel that notion.
If I may, and I hate to use the word dispel because I believe Premier Brantley have done an excellent job of explaining the 400 million, all of the millions that are out there. Yeah? I would agree with him that the NRP, for example, did not necessarily have any issue to run in any election.
None.
But every time the former Prime Minister opens his mouth, he gives them talking points.
Okay.
Go out there, talk about this. Even the $21 million that we got that increase over a 12-month period, meaning we were receiving $3.7 million prior to January of this year. Premier would have written to the Prime Minister, it was increased to 5.5. That's an increase of just about 1.8 million. Spread over 12 months, that's just about $21 million, or just over 21 million. A certain individual has said to people on the street that he brought over $21 million to Nevis, as if he came over with a bag over his shoulder or a suitcase full of money to bring to the Premier.
No.
Whatever it was, that increase amounts to 21 million over the next 12 months. An increase of 1.8 per month. And people tend to gravitate to these lies. I call it dishonesty. The Premier said disingenuous. I call it dishonesty. And that is the dishonesty that we have been getting from the opposition for many, many years. And it continues up until today. We have been straightforward and forthright in our interaction with the Nevisian public. I don't have to look over my shoulder at night. I don't have to wonder what I said last night or this morning, because when I speak the truth. The Premier does the same thing with Minister Evelyn. And that is what we continue to do from this platform, because we believe we owe it to the general public or the Nevisian public to be honest and forthright. And if the NRP intend to come and hoodwink the people of Nevis with any lies and misinformation, they'll pay the penalty or pay the price in the end, because the people of Nevis will reject them, as they have done over the last, how many years?
Almost 30.
Almost 30 years. Because they come time and time again with what we continue to call misinformation and just plain right dishonesty. It came before us recently, whereby they said now they're running in this election and they're throwing away an entire constitution, just as they've done in the past, where they have gone out there. For example, when it came to an election in 2011, they took off hundreds of people's name off of the voters list.
Absolutely.
That's dishonesty.
Yes.
Take them off as if they didn't exist. And that is how they look at the people of Nevis. In this kind of way that to suggest that, listen, you're less of a person. When you do that to someone and take away their democratic right, it means you don't have any use for them. And when you're going to come now in an election like this and ask in question about 400 million, as if to suggest somebody took it and went somewhere, when all of the projects around, the Premier hasn't even started scratching the surface yet. I remember when we were seeing pictures about the tender pay in town, all up and down social media, when the storms came in 2017 and destroyed a wooden section of the pier. We have since fixed that. But before that, when we got the first 10 million out of Bastair, we extended the pier to almost 100 feet or more. And that was to accommodate the tenders that we were preparing for.
The cruise ships, yes.
The cruise ship, tenders from those cruise ships. We were preparing for that. And so we went about doing that. We spoke about the water taxi facility, but I believe we haven't even dug into it and said exactly what the impact has been on Nevis. Employment, revenue stream. When I say employment, every one of those operators employed a certain amount of persons. They move people back and forth. There's revenue collected when persons depart the Wally facility. The boat owners collect, and they have to pay their taxes. Revenue for the treasury. So it is a multiplier effect when you put these projects on the ground. And so I'm so pleased with what we have done. We can go further. Eric did mention about the generator here in 2016. We bought the first Wärtsilä generator, and now we have a second. But the bottom line is, when that came, we understood the position that Nevlec was in. No generators were bought under the NRP.
None.
Not one. We bought about 3 up to the point when up to 2016, we would have acquired 3. The last one was the 3.8 megawatt Wärtsilä, and we put Nevlec on a path of stability. And irrespective of what might be said about this government, we've sought to improve the infrastructure. I can talk about water. We got monies from the SIDF for the water enhancement project that we had ongoing for a few years here on Nevis. $30 million project, and we got some additional funds from the SIDF. That project, I will say to you, prior to the implementation of that project, we had issues and difficulties with water on Nevis. As a matter of fact, I will say to you as well, many of the tanks here on Nevis at the point in time was leaking more than they were holding.
Wow.
So we were pumping water into tanks here under the NRP and leading up to the point when CCM got into government. And more was leaking out of the tank than what was going in. Well, not what was going. More was leaking out than what was being held into the tank to be used by the people of Nevis. And these are things that we met. Some will paint a glorious picture to suggest they were pumping 1 million gallons of water. Then nothing all go so. Nothing all go so. We were able to put tanks on the ground to collect over 1 million gallons of water per day once we would have implemented that project. And it was never the case before. So water has been enhanced. And some of the monies that were derived from our partnership in Basti would have gone into enhancing water as well. So all around the island, the infrastructure have been improved. Nevis is one of the countries or islands that is envied out there by many. Trust me. Housing, I haven't even scratched the surface with housing. Because when you look at housing, you go to Madden's, one of the best housing development in the entire OECS. I don't care what anybody put up as pictures right now. That is one of the best. And you go up to University Heights. We implemented a program here to keep our young men and young women who have gone abroad to study. We want to keep them here in Nevis to contribute to the development of Nevis. So that is why we put that project on the ground there at University Heights. $1 per square foot for 8,000 square feet.
You need to say it again.
$1 per square foot. And I say it louder. Because when it's all said and done, we have to tell our own stories, Lataya.
That's true.
Because if we don't do it, somebody is going to paint a picture there that is not the exact picture.
That's true.
And then we'll have to keep defending.
That's why we're here.
And I'm going to get rowdy at this time because
Yes.
we can. Because we have a lot to talk about. And there's nothing the NRP could tell this administration about development that we cannot. NRP can't even point to one development they brought while they were in office between 2006 and 2013.
Yeah.
They can speak about taking people names off our list and the things that happened at land and housing, or Nevis housing and land. They could speak gloriously about those things and take us to court every day over those things. But I'll say to you that this government has performed and has done an excellent job at performance. And we have placed people at the center of everything we have done. We'll continue to talk, but there'll be more and more times to come, because we have a lot to talk about.
And that is why we do these town hall meetings. Our representatives commit themselves to you. They want to hear your questions, and they are willing to answer any question given to them and answer honestly. So it's really good to hear about the projects with regards to the 400 million. But we're going to move on. I just received a question. Some claim that the Charleston Accord was not a legal document. So the CCM representatives should have sought to legislate or codify a fair share for Nevis. How would you respond? Is an amendment to the Constitution a viable option at this point?
An amendment to the Constitution, Latoya, is an extremely difficult path. An amendment to the Constitution, particularly Section 110, that deals with revenue sharing. Let us remember that it deals with tax revenue. It's very specific. CBI is what they call non-tax revenue. So there's absolutely, at this point, no guarantee that the CBI proceeds would even be covered by the Constitution. Because the Constitution, which was framed in 1983, CBI, let us remember, started in 1984. And the Constitution spoke about tax revenue. CBI is not non-tax revenue. So if even we were to amend the Constitution in 110, we would have to amend it in such a way now that it refers not only to tax but also non-tax revenue. Now, how would we go about amending Section 110? We would have to, one, introduce a bill in the federal parliament to amend it. There would have to be a delay of 90 days between the introduction of that bill and the second reading of the bill. On the second reading of the bill, Latoya, 2/3 of the elected parliamentarians would have to vote in favor of that bill. And if it passes by getting 2/3 in favor, we then have to go to a referendum. And not one referendum, but two referenda. One in St. Kitts and one in Nevis.
It's a process.
And in St. Kitts, 2/3 of the people must vote yes. And in Nevis, 2/3 of the people must vote yes. So if St. Kitts people, 2/3 vote yes and Nevis say no, it can't amend. So when people talk about amending the Constitution, that is an incredibly difficult path in order to get us to where we want to go. So that to my mind is just talk. That's just chatter. What we sought to do, because the CBI was the elephant in the room, that is the big revenue that is coming into the country. We put together the Charleston Accord. And I continue to say that those men who signed the Charleston Accord, Honorable Van Samuel of blessed memory, on behalf of the CCM, Honorable Sean Richards on behalf of PAM, and Timothy Harris on behalf of PLP. Now, when I hear the same people like Timothy Harris say, oh, it's just a piece of paper and nothing about that, we forget that it is the same Charleston Accord that gave him the prime ministership of the country. Now, what if in 2015, when the votes were tallied, and we realized that CCM had 2 seats, PAM had 4, that's 6, that's a government right there, you know. PLP had 1 bare seat, 1 sole solitary seat. And on the strength of the agreements that we had, the man with 1 seat get prime minister. That says to me that CCM kept their promise and PAM kept their promise. And after he was elevated to the position of prime minister, on the basis of the very agreements that he now spits on and denigrates and say that they're worthless, you start to hear now, oh, this isn't it, and you didn't go to parliament with that. Now, I'm going to ask the question this way. If people have integrity and they have come to an agreement that they say will define how they conduct their affairs, how they treat each other, and how they treat the country, why do you have to take that to parliament to have it codified? I believe the better question that we should be asking is, why did those people who signed that document are unwilling to honor their commitment that they made before God and man? I remember down there thousands of people in the square, people clapping and shouting. And we said that this was a new dawn for St. Kitts and Nevis. A brand new paradigm we have brought forward, where the people of Nevis will get their fair share and the people of St. Kitts will get their fair share. So it must mean that when Timothy Harris put his signature, I have the document, I look at it every day. I pull out the Charleston Accord and look at it. Because it must mean when he has fixed his signature, he never intended to honor it. That is what you call cataflam. I think that's the word that the old people used to use. He knew that he had no intentions. And that, in any language, if you speak Spanish, English, French, Italian, or you speak Hindi, that is called dishonesty. Dishonesty. When you lie and bad and devious, and you have no character, and you have no integrity, that's what you do. So when people ask, well, if you wanted to get this done, you should have taken it into parliament, those people are admitting that some who signed that document were dishonest. That is really what they're saying. And so that is why we have insisted that whilst there was a pathway to change the Constitution, I have outlined to you what that pathway entails. And I don't know that anybody sitting here tonight could guarantee us that if you try to amend that Constitution, given the doubly entrenched positions, that will be successful. We remember we had a secession referendum here. 2/3 majority is almost impossible to achieve in a referendum. Almost impossible. So the framers knew that these provisions were set in concrete. It will be very hard. You will need a very powerful concrete jackhammer to get out those provisions. And that is why we said there was another way. Let us do it this way. Let us trust in the goodwill and character of these individuals. And what I have come to learn is that there are some who will do almost anything to get into power. But once they get there, they forget. It's like my favorite play, Julius Caesar, when they were talking about Caesar. And they said, lowliness is young ambition's ladder, whereto the climber upward turns his face. But when he once attains the upmost round, he then unto the ladder turns his back, scorning the base degrees by which he did ascend. All it says is that sometimes people use a ladder to get to the top and then they kick it down.
That to me speaks to character. That speaks to integrity. And that is why we have said, we're now going to further with Timothy Harris. Let's go back at Tabernacle, and we will see to it in the next election that he goes over Taba, and he could sit down in his vault and enjoy himself.
So, Premier, as people keep talking about this just being a signature and that kind of stuff, you're the legal mind here in the room, and according to our late national hero, one of the best legal minds in the Caribbean, right? Isn't your signature something that is binding? Because if I come to you and tell you I want $1,000 to borrow, and I put my signature on a piece of paper and said I'm going to pay you back that $1,000, and I don't pay you back, isn't that signature binding on me to pay you back that money?
Well, there's a fundamental difference, and that is why we have not sought to say that this is a document on which we can rely in court, because what this document sought to do was to set out a framework for when we got into government. We were not in government at the time. Remember, we were in opposition. And so this was three parties coming together and saying to the people of the country and saying to each other, this is how we're going to function. So it was, if you will, an understanding, an agreement between the three parties that that's how they would function. But one would not be able to sue the federal government on the basis of that document because the government was not a party to the document. The people who were party to the document were three individuals representing political parties. So if you're going to sue somebody, you could only sue Timothy Harris, and Timothy Harris, well, maybe he have a lot of money now. But at the time, he didn't have much because I used to have lunch with him and he always make me pay for lunch, right? So it is a different scenario. So that quite good legal analysis that you've done would not apply to that situation.
Okay, we're moving on. Another question, and I did say some of these questions are quite interesting that I received, but nonetheless, we're going to share the questions. In the past, NRP made a big issue of persons running in both federal and local elections. We now see all the candidates launched for the federal elections have been previously launched as local candidates. What are your thoughts on this turnaround? Anyone, feel free to.
Well, I think I touched it
Yes.
Earlier, but it speaks to dishonesty to start with, and trying to mislead, hoodwink, mama guy, or all of the adjectives you would want to use to describe a party such as the NRP. Now, they would want to suggest that they can change the constitution any day. When you come to the general public as a political organization, you must be serious, and you must be able to stand on certain principles that the general public can look towards and hold them dear to their heart and tell themselves that I am willing to go with that particular party because they stand for something. Now, if you're going to change your stance on anything because of political expediency, so to speak,
Exactly what it is.
then that is where I have a problem. Because when they launched those candidates, irrespective of whether they were preparing for a local election or not, they don't control their destiny when it comes to politics. If you're in opposition, whatever comes your way, prepare for it. You said that you were not going to run the same candidates in both elections, so you must have had candidates lined up to go into a federal election if it were to come. But therein lies the dilemma with the NRP. You've heard it from the Premier before, that it was something that was put out there so that the CCM can fall for it. We have said as the CCM from day one that we are running candidates who are incumbent candidates at the local level. And we have stuck to that for the last 37, 38 years, for how long we've been a party. And we have never resigned from that. We have never backed off of that. And we won't, because that is what has worked for us over the years. You must run your best candidate in any election you go into. So we have sought to stick to our grounds and our principles in terms of what we believe in as a party. Now, the fact that we didn't follow and fall for, as was mentioned, fall into the trap that they would have set, yeah? They have found themselves in that dilemma now. It's like a mouse crawling around, you put a trap there, and they get caught in the trap, yeah? The bottom line is, the NRP now would have to go and explain to the people of Nevis why they have reneged on their stance. And no matter how they explain it, they would never explain their way out of it. Because the bottom line is, they have shown that they're two-faced. They're a two-faced party. They would say one thing now, and then tomorrow is another. And case in point, let's say by some stretch of the imagination, Janice Daniel, for example, or Janice Hodge, whatever her name is, won this upcoming election. What is she telling me and the people of Nevis? She being the leader of the NRP, when the local come, she won't contest it to become the premier? That is if, I'm just putting something forward.
Sure,
We know it won't happen. But I'm just saying how dishonest the whole thing appears now, right? That they are willing to put themselves out there and tell the people of Nevis, I vote for me still, even though I didn't mean it. Even though I tried something, vote for me. But the people of Nevis will reject that because as we go around house to house, people are raising it. How could these people be so dishonest to the Nevian public? And you can look at their dishonesty over the years. We go back to 1998. They stood up in the Nevis Island Assembly. We support Clause 113, the secession bill. And then they went out and campaigned vociferously around the island, killing it dead. That was their doing. If they had gone out and said, listen, we believe in the future of Nevis, or the future of Nevis lies in the hands of the people of Nevis, we must be an independent island. Let's go and vote for it. We would have been an independent island today. But that is the type of, even you mentioned it some time ago, I think it was yesterday, sorry, about the pandemic that we faced in 2020. Yes. And the premier would have invited them to come on board. And they didn't verbally say they were not going to be a part of it. They wrote and said they didn't want to be a part of it. So anything about Nevis and the future of Nevis, and when it comes to standing up for Nevis and standing on the side of right, NRP has always found themselves on the wrong side of history. And it's a terrible thing to be in a party of that nature. And that is why the CCM has always stood tall. And that is why we're going to continue to stand on the ground that we're standing on. And that is the ground that represents honesty, decency, and the best for the island of Nevis. Because we are the party that embraces that and embodies that.
And the fact that this is a party that has always been very consistent with our message. Yeah. Because Alexis explained it very well there. We are trying to run our best candidates at all times. We have been criticized and criticized and criticized over and over again about the double salary and trying to run in both elections. And the kind of lame excuses that you're hearing now, even supporters of the NRP are calling foul on them, because I was pleasantly surprised the other day. Someone told me they heard a very strong supporter of the NRP. She said, but wait, all of the criticisms that they had against CCM, they're doing the same thing now? And apparently the lady said she's not going out to vote for this election because she has been deceived. It has been downright deception on their part. That they have criticized us so much over the years. And now they're back to square one to do the same thing. So the fact is that this party has always been very consistent with the message as opposed to the opposition. They just jump here, jump there, and they say something when it is good for them. And I guess this is the case where they're saying, well, they didn't have anybody else that was willing and able, and that is why they say they are doing this. But the kind of lame excuses that they're coming with and the hypocrisy, the total hypocrisy that we're seeing in the opposition, it will tell when the votes are counted.
Well, Latoya, I will simply say this. If we can't trust the NRP to follow its own constitution, then how can we trust them to run the affairs of Nevis and the wider federation? I have been berated over and over for 2 salaries. It's impossible to do 2 jobs. Well, has it suddenly become possible to do 2 jobs?
Yes, sir.
I was interested in hearing the NRP say when they launched that since we have reneged on our commitment not to run the same candidates in federal and local, we will not take any salary if we are elected. Instead of that, you know what they say? We won't take any portfolio, but we're going to take the salary. So they don't want the work, they want the pay. And I think that it betrays the hypocrisy that we have had from them. We have said in this party that the CCM represents leadership that you can trust. And the reason people can trust the leadership of CCM is exactly as Erica said, because of our consistency. When the Honorable Van Semi was with us, he's one of the founding fathers of this party. He ran local, he ran federal. When the great Malcolm Gishard was with us, he ran local, he ran federal. I have come, done the same. Eric has come, Alexis has come, done the same. And the NRP over the years has also done the same. Our national hero, Sir Simeon Daniel, was both Premier of Nevis and Minister of Finance in Sinkis at the same time. Nobody ever told Sim he couldn't do two jobs. Ivor Algernon Stevens was Minister of Works in Nevis and in Sinkits. Ural Swanston served in both. Joseph Parry served in both. And we know Hensley tried, Hector tried, and Patrice tried. But the people rejected them. And it's only after they kept getting rejected time and time again that they come up with this bright idea. Oh, it is wrong to run in both. And now they set the trap for us, the trap fly, and they get catch. Because we have always been consistent in our position. I believe they owe the people of Nevis an apology, and they owe me, Alexis and Eric an apology for all the what they don't give us. Because now they are here asking the people of Nevis to ignore the campaign for the last several years and just say, oh, well, what they say, they weren't prepared. So they had to go.
The strangest thing is as well, that one of the lamest excuses they're using is that, well, they are not yet elected to the Nevis Island Assembly. But the fact is, you have been launched for that, the NIA. And now you're going to be launched again for the federal. It is absolutely saying that you are after both jobs.
Well, Eric, let me read their constitution. It said the executive committee shall be empowered to select candidates from among party members recommended by the constituency branches for election to the Nevis Island Assembly or the National Assembly. Elections in which the party might be contesting, provided that no person shall be recommended to serve as a member of both the National Assembly and the Nevis Island Assembly at the same time.
Wow.
It then goes on and says, and provided further that no person who is a member of either the National Assembly or the Nevis Island Assembly shall be so recommended to serve in the other assembly of which he or she is not at that time a member. So that argument that they're using to say that if you are a member of either assembly, you cannot contest. That is the additional proviso. But they're ignoring the first proviso, which says that no person shall be recommended to serve as a member of both. And they clearly were already recommended because they already launched locally. They now launched federally. But I will tell you, this was really designed to keep out the Honorable Cleon Stapleton Simmons. Because when the Honorable Cleon Stapleton Simmons said that she wanted to run, they said to her, oh, you are a member of the Nevis Island Assembly, so you can't run. That was the argument. We will get back to that, I'm sure.
I think the only thing one can say that NRP truly is a dishonest party. That's what I belong to.
So we move on. There was a post made by the leader of the NRP. It's regarding accountability for CBI funds. I would read it, and then I would like for our representative to give comments on it. NRP understands that your government must be creative in these tough economic times to improve the lives and livelihoods of our people. Many families in Nevis struggle to cover the cost of medical care, especially when they have to travel overseas. Your elected NRP representative would ensure that a percentage of our CBI monies are allocated to an emergency medical fund to assist families with medical expenses. The procedures to assess this fund would be standardized so that all eligible persons would have an equal opportunity to benefit from the fund. How do you respond to this, boss?
Well, both my colleagues seem as though they are occupied.
I'm not occupied. I'm looking for the information.
Okay, while you do that, let me say this. The leader of the NRP is fully aware that this administration takes care of persons and offers medical assistance to persons who are eligible to receive. As a matter of fact, she is well aware of persons, even in St. James, who receive medical assistance from this administration. And perhaps that is why that is put out there. You see, some people want to seem like trendsetters or leading their way on an issue. But the issue has been taken care of by this administration. I'll go further to say that the NIA does offer assistance, and it is done through the Ministry of Health. But there is a process that one has to go through. We assist those who are certainly not financially sound enough to get that type of assistance elsewhere. There are persons who also have insurance who are covered in that regard. Now, the job of any administration is to provide the necessary cushion, so to speak, for every citizen that qualifies or are eligible or find themselves in a position where they are unable to take care of certain necessities. Indeed, we have heard from from the federal level, there have always been the talk of this national health insurance facility that should have been put in place. Indeed, there have been some delay on that. That is something that the new administration will pursue at the federal level with some alacrity. That would cover every citizen in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Not so much picking and choosing, say, for a division or acquisition, but everyone will be covered once that national health insurance policy is, well, the framework for it is developed and executed. But I want to say further that we believe in taking care of our citizens, and we have done that. But like I said, basically that question is well taken care of through the NIA at this time. The Premier said he was looking for other information.
I want to know if he has
Listen,
figures, because
he's
he
gonna
usually come
concretize the whole
with figures.
Before the Premier come with his figures, because he always have
I know.
always has the fact at his fingertips, right? But I want the opposition to know that this administration, the Concerned Citizens Movement administration, we didn't have to wait on CBI funds to assist the people of Nevis. We didn't have to wait on CBI funds. Monies are budgeted every year for that.
A medical fund, absolutely.
For that. And so my colleagues are here. We know that very often things come to our cabinet for medical assistance for people. We believe in taking care of our people. And when the Premier brings the facts will speak for itself. And so this is an administration. Once there is a need, and the need is justified, this administration responds, and responds positively. And there are scores of people out there who are looking at us, who are listening, who can vouch for the assistance that they have received.
The good thing is that we don't advertise these things in terms of blowing our trumpet about them, because it comes from the heart and the desire of all of us as an administration to do good by the people.
Precisely. So as I said, we didn't have to wait on CBI money. We are doing it naturally as an administration, as a caring administration.
Latoya, one of my favorite people in the world is a lady whom I love like my own mom. And anytime she reaches out to me, she always sends me a prayer or a word of encouragement. You know what she calls me? Her hero. And it's a strong thing to refer to somebody. But you know why? Because this lady had a difficulty. And it is the assistance provided by the government that helped her to overcome that difficulty. We have touched so many lives here in Nevis. Alexis shared with me a text message he received recently where somebody expressed appreciation for the assistance. When I heard the leader of the NRP talking about if they get CBI money, they're going to put a medical fund, I said it is demonstrative of how uninformed she is. How uninformed. Because long before Team Unity in 2015, this government was providing medical assistance. I have some numbers here. 2015, we provided $417,901.64 in medical assistance to people. 2016, $471,239.22. 2017, $444,726.28. 2018, $613,000. $926.69. 2019, $575,832.73. 2020, during COVID, $230,275.65. 2021, $456,154.69. And thus far this year, from January to present, we have already spent $328,936.10. I will go further and tell you that we have a cap that we provide for people who satisfy the criteria, because we have a means test. We have a cap of 10,000 US dollars. That's the maximum. You know, in St. Kitts with all the CBI money, the most I could get is 5,000 EC. We have had a cap here of 10,000 US, 27,000 EC dollars, providing real assistance to people. And that is why when I hear this, as if this is a revelation, we are going to put this in place, but it's already in place. It tells me, therefore, that you're
working well.
It's working more than well.
Well, just one correction,
Uninformed.
Premier. You would have said 4 something million for 2015.
Oh, thousand.
Thousands, yeah, because
you see, I'm so expecting when we get the fair share that we will spend 400 million.
That would be a lot of money.
Oh,
So
wait,
just to make
forgive
sure
me.
that it's
I want you to repeat the figure for 2021. Because there's a reason why I want you to repeat the figure for 2021.
2021, the figure is $456,154.69.
Because the people of Nevis need to recognize that we had a pandemic
Yes.
in 2020 and 2021. And irrespective of that pandemic, irrespective of the fact that our revenue stream was way down, we continued to support people who asked for the assistance.
So when they ask where the money gone, the money has gone into helping people, assisting people with critical medical care. And you know, whilst we have waited and waited for national health insurance to come, the NIA did not simply wait. We put a fund in place that has been helping people. And if the NRP had bothered to look at the budget documents, they would see that this is budgeted for. Every year we put something in the budget. I think we have averaged about 400,000 or 500,000 that we budget. Sometimes we go over, but we are budgeted to take care of our people, because there's nothing worse than when somebody has a life-threatening situation and they do not have the resources. And so we have stepped up. We see in other places people going around with a card, asking people for $5 and $10. And while there's nothing wrong with that, the government in Nevis has stepped up. And I'm very proud of our track record, because we've brought meaningful assistance to many, many, many people right here on the island of Nevis.
And it is also important to know that we are only at June, and we have spent already over $300.
$28,000.
We are already only at June.
Okay. Well, thank you, honorable gentleman, for that. We are now going to open the floor for questions. And then I have a few more questions after to ask as well. Okay, so we're going to continue until somebody indicates that they have a question. The CCM representation has been a part of T-Unity for 7 years. Well, the Premier has been there for 7 years, Alexis, you and Eric too. Why should you be given another opportunity to represent the people of Nevis? We start with you, Honorable
I
Eric
think we
Evelyn.
should be given another opportunity to represent the people of St. Kitts and Nevis for various reasons. And I'm going to start with this. The fact is, we were elected to run or to be in the cabinet for 5 years. That representation has been cut short by 3 years. And we must recognize that we three here have been criticized very highly for going to St. Kitts to get an extra pay. And the fact is that the three of us walked away, or maybe ran away, from that extra pay. From that extra pay. That is enough reason to tell the people of Nevis that, listen, we are here to fight your battle. This is not about us. This is about you. And the mere fact that we walked away from that pay that the opposition kept criticizing us for, it shows that we are serious about you, we are serious about representation. And I must say as well that the 7 years in which Nevis has been a part of the Team Unity administration, we have seen some results, even though the results have not been what they ought to be. We have seen results. And it is important for us to be a part of the federal table, to get a part of the federal pie. And so, the mere fact, all of what we have said tonight, it clearly shows that this is the absolute best team. This is the dream team to represent the affairs of the people of Nevis in Bastille. And that is why you absolutely must vote for us and you must send us back. Because you're getting quality representation from us. And the fact is as well that from the three of us, we have provided stellar representation in Bastille in terms of our portfolio. So there's absolutely no reason why people of Nevis will not vote for us again to send us back to represent them.
Honorable Alexis Jeffers?
Well, I can give you a simple answer and say, I am absolutely certain as I sit here that I'm the best representative that will come out of Nevis 11, out of this election. So that is the reason why I believe it is absolutely the best choice to send Alexis Jeffers back to the federal parliament along with my two colleagues. Furthermore, I'll say that we've always advocated for one voice, a united voice out of the island of Nevis. We have seen that there has been no progress whatsoever with dissenting voices over there. As a matter of fact, you had a voice over there over the past 20 years, prior to 2020, that have said in the federal parliament that Nevis don't want anything.
Yes.
And when I walk the streets of Bastille, not me, but him, when he walked the streets of Bastille, he would have seen what over $1 billion of debt would have done in St. Kitts, and he couldn't see what the debt in Nevis would have accomplished. So those kind of things being said in the federal parliament are no more as a result of the decision that was made in 2020 to have three voices singing from the same hymn sheet and talking the same language in Bastille. And so I am saying this evening that there's absolutely no way the people of Nevis would want to see such representation as they would have seen prior to 2020. But they are very pleased with what we have presented to the people of Nevis and to the Federation on a whole as a united team. And I would want to think that Eric said yes, that we were cut short by 3 years. But there's a reason why. And it was the simple reason, or that important reason, for standing up for the island of Nevis. Our term was cut short. That is why the people of Nevis must be galvanized at this time to send the three of us back to Bastille, because we have demonstrated that we are willing to take whatever comes our way in terms of us being removed from the federal government or mandate taken away, ministries taken away, whatever the case might be. I hate to use the word that some of them are trying to use because, as I said before, nobody fired me. No way. They didn't have the power to. But somebody believed they had more power than someone else to make a decision. I'm not going to go into that. The bottom line is, though, if we are looking for serious representation, the best representation, and representation that has demonstrated that they're willing to stand up for the island of Nevis, here's where it's at. The CCM party, the Honorable Mark Brantley in Nevis 9, Honorable Eric Evelyn in Nevis 10, and the Honorable Sir Jeffers in Nevis 11. I believe we have made and we will continue to make one of the best team that has ever come out of Nevis for the federal parliament.
The best.
One of the best or the best?
The best.
The best. Because no other party, well, prior to let's say 1992, thereabout, or 1987, sorry, you had 3 representatives from the NRP. That's when the NRP was a one-party type of thing here on the island. Everybody was voting for NRP. CCM came about, and in 1987, thereabout, the Honorable Man Samuel would have won the federal seat then, right? So we have never really had 3 representatives from the CCM until 2020, and we have demonstrated since 2020 it is the best thing the island of Nevis has seen.
Honorable Premier?
Well, I think the results that we have had speak volumes. The NRP was there, they got nothing. The CCM was there, and we got much more than nothing. Our argument is that we did not get what was promised. And so I think that the people should send us back to finish the job that we started. I can tell you, Latoya, that I'm very proud to be the representative of the people of Nevis 9, St. John's and St. Paul's. My first election was back in 2007, and I won by the massive margin of 30 votes. And ever since that day, the people of that constituency have every election increased my margin. It is my goal to reach to the status of my brother Eric in Gingerland, where I can really say that I am winning by those kinds of big margins that he wins by. But last election, the fellow who they sent against me, I beat him by over 500. So I'm getting close to Eric. But I say that to say this, that the people, and I put my trust in them, because it is the people. We could stay up here all night and say how great we are. But ultimately, the test comes in an election when you're asking people to put their trust and confidence in you. And the numbers speak for themselves, that the people have repeatedly said of this CCM party that we are the best representation for them. And their voice is the voice of God. So for me, I want to thank the people of Number 9 and to ask them to continue to stay with me as I stay with them. It is no coincidence that every election my margin gets bigger. And it's no coincidence that they have put their trust in us, because in us they know that they have people who are committed to them. We have none of self. We have all of them. That is what our mandate is, and that is what we will continue to do. And I look forward to the people of Nevis sending us 3 Hebrew boys back to Bastia, back to Church Street, to stand up down there in Bastia. Bastia is not an easy environment, Latoya. Some of them feel like go waltzing down there. Is that so down there, you know? Down there is a difficult environment. And we 3 represent, I said it the other night, 3 Jefe Toros. You need big people who understand big issues and serious issues. You need serious people, because we're living in a serious times. And serious times, you know, demand serious attention from serious people. Not people who are not sure what's federal and what's local, not sure if they're going to take portfolio, if they're going to take pay, not sure. People who don't understand. We have a fundamental issue in the country of fair share. They say it's a fake issue. Those people are not ready yet for prime time. And kindergarten, this is not kindergarten, this is prime time. So I am saying, send back the team that can do the job.
And Mr. Premier, as you just spoke about portfolio there a while ago, it is a bit strange that anyone who is running for an election, we say that they don't require a portfolio. Because I know there are several islands in the Caribbean where you have more candidates or more representatives than portfolio. And those candidates who end up not getting a portfolio, most of the times they feel embarrassed, because everybody who is elected wants a portfolio. Mm-hmm. They want to say, well, I'm the minister of this, or I'm the minister of that. So I don't understand how anybody who is vying for office could boldly say that they don't desire a portfolio.
Well, time is running down on us. I must say that the discussion has been really good, very engaging, and I know the people of Nevis are listening and the message is resonating with them. But Honorable Premier, I received a message and it's directed at you, and it says, the individual wish for you to clear the air as to the talk that is going around that the PM sent over the monies to pay the 10% increase in salary, and that you held back. You held back 5%. And the other is it the NIA's responsibility to pay the nurses their 10%, or is it the federal government's responsibility?
To pay nurses?
Yes.
Let me start with the second question, because I want to make it pellucid that all public servants in Nevis are paid by the Nevis Island Administration. All. There's no public servant who works for the NIA that is paid by anybody but the Nevis Island Administration. That is why during the pandemic, we had to beg, borrow, and do what we could do to make sure that our people got paid in full and on time. Our pensioners in Nevis are paid by the Nevis Island Administration. I don't know where this notion has crept in that somebody else. The only public servants on this island that are paid by the federal government are police officers and fire officers, because those fall under the rubric of national security, which is a federal responsibility. Everybody else is paid by the NIA. And of course, the statutory corporations, NEVLEC, etc., they pay their workers. So I want to make that very clear. So our nurses are the responsibility of the Nevis Island Administration. Our teachers, the responsibility of the Nevis Island Administration. And all of those who work in the administration, in agriculture, in health, education, water department, public works, they are the responsibility of the Nevis Island Administration. So I want to put that to rest immediately. Now you ask about Prime Minister sending over money to pay salaries. It's a very simple thing. If it is so, he would have presented the evidence by now. No, I would have to be foolish or worse to get money for civil servants, increase in salary, and say, I am holding back. Is the quickest way to lose an election? I mean, the very idea is preposterous. We had to look as a cabinet at what we could do. And I will say something here tonight, Latoya. The 10% increase, the way it was announced, and the retroactivity was designed to embarrass the Nevis Island government. I'm telling you. Timothy Harris knew that he had billions of dollars sitting down in sinkers from CBI, that he was not giving us our fair share of the money. And this, therefore, he could easily pay. He could have paid 25% in sinkers. That's how much money he has available to him. He knew that once he said 10% salary increase in sinkers, the Nevis civil servants would say, well, CCM, what are you all doing over here? And he knew we did not have the money, because we've been having an ongoing discussion about making Nevis's money available to Nevis. So imagine the cynicism of withholding our money and then announcing a salary increase. And you notice he said, for federal workers. But of course, people in Nevis naturally developed that expectation. And we sat down, the gentlemen are here, with our other cabinet colleagues. We argued, we discussed, we tried to find a way to show our public servants in Nevis that we appreciate their dedicated service, but at the same time, not plunge Nevis into more debt, bearing in mind that we have a responsibility as a government, not only to our civil servants, but to all of Nevis. And so we took a decision that it was better for us to pay more, but to do it over time. And so we said, we'll pay 5% this year, retroactive. We'll pay 5% January 1st next year, and we'll pay 5% January 1st, 2023. When you do that, because it is compounded, 2024, forgive me. When you do that because it is compounded, it works out about 15.8%. It is the single largest salary increase ever committed to the people of Nevis. And we have done that because we said, listen, and Latoya, I always say that some of these things are not as complicated as we make them. All of us have households. All of us budget. And we all know that if we get a bill for $5,000, to find $5,000 to pay the bill right away might be difficult. But if we got the bill for the same $5,000, we said, pay every month, that it might be easier for you to find the money every month to pay. The $400 or whatever it is every month to pay, than it is to find $5,000 one time. Similarly for the government. We said, okay, what we want to do is to ensure that we are able to pay, that we don't put ourselves into further difficulty. I want the people of Nevis to understand that the 10% retroactive would have cost, just for the retroactive portion, somewhere in the region of $4 million that we would have had to have found in order just to satisfy that. And I know that it was calculated. But you see, whilst they were planning for us, we have the interest of the people at heart. And I believe that the people of Nevis and our hard-working public servants understood, and I have been very grateful to them for saying, listen, while we would have appreciated getting a bigger amount up front, we know that in 3 years we'll actually be better off because we're getting this money over time, 5, 5, and 5. As somebody put it to me, 15 is more than 10. And so the notion that money came over for 10% salary increase, it is categorically false. I probably could have just said that and answered you just so. But I wanted to explain because I think our people need to understand how government works and the fact that as a responsible government, and I want to emphasize that word, as a responsible government, we had to take a decision that reflected our appreciation for the hard work, but also allowed the government to function. And that is what we did.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. We're going to do one more question, and then I'm going to ask each of you to give closing remarks due to the time. But when we receive our fair share, what development initiatives, projects are expected in Nevis? What would you use the monies for?
Don't ask Eric because you're going to spend all of it in Gingerland. So I don't want you to ask him. I don't want to ask Alexis either.
So you want me to ask you? So you don't want me to ask it too, but you want me to ask it for St. John? Okay. I say Paul.
Gentlemen, go ahead.
Well, of course, there's so many things that we can do. Of course, I have a large ministry, and there's so much to do in my ministry. I see my other cabinet colleague watching and smiling. But there's so much to do in my ministry, and there's so much to do in my constituency as well. And so, of course, we would have said that from the onset that we would have spent some money on the Mondo track. And of course, there's always been a big song and dance about why it's not finished. The second phase, the Mondo track, the first phase is finished. But we would like, of course, to build this stadium, right? There's so much other things we can do in sports. There's so much other things we can do in culture. There's so many other things we can do in community development. Our social safety net programs, those can be improved dramatically. I know in my constituency, there are a lot of things that I would like to do. I just want to quickly talk about two that, of course, ever since I got into government, and this is something that I would have said that I would love when I am in government, the public market in Gingerland. I know we've had a resuscitation of agriculture, a resurgence of agriculture, and there are a lot of persons in agriculture in Gingerland, and I personally would love to see that market come back to life right in the center of Gingerland. Because there are a lot of persons up there who are doing farming, and rather than coming into Charlestown, you have to decentralize, just like what we did with the David Freeman Center. Rather than having everything centralized in Charlestown, this is important. Gingerland is a large area. People can come here to the public market to ply their trade. And of course, the health center, I personally would love to see a polyclinic there in Gingerland as well. And so those are just two of the projects in my constituency. I would love to see a lot more. Time is running out, so I can't talk about many more now. But as I said, my constituency and my ministry, we have a lot of work to do when we get that fair share. And that is why we are agitating so much for us to get it.
Thank you. Honorable Alexis Jeffers.
I have a laundry list of things that we can talk about. But anyway, listen, I am gung-ho, and I believe the administration that I'm proud to be a part of, they share the same view that we have to develop and expand our airport, the Van Summer International Airport. That is a must if we are to realize the type of development that we can get here on the island of Nevis, that we envisage that we'll have with that expansion as well. The Long Point facility, we believe that we can do some expansion there as well. Those are things that are on the books that we believe we can execute with the proper financing being done out of the monies we receive from or fair share, I must say, that we will receive from BAS there. Additionally, I am big on greenhouse technology, and Eric would have touched on agriculture and said that we have seen a resurgence. I believe that we can have a proliferation of greenhouses throughout Nevis and specializing in certain areas that we can eliminate the importation of certain produce or products. As a matter of fact, I have said to various persons that I do believe that we can get into the production of hot peppers and get into hot sauce and any other products that can be derived from hot peppers as well. Because I believe that there is a good market for that, not only here in the Federation, but we've always been talking to our friends at the Republic of China, Taiwan, the technical mission, and they say that they can take any amount of hot peppers. Sells, not hot peppers, but hot sauce. Sells well in Asia, because the Asians tend to love hot sauce and love our hot sauce. As a matter of fact, during the trade show in Dubai in recent months. Expo, yeah. My understanding is that whatever amount of hot sauce went there, within days it was sold out, and more had to be had from the Federation. So it tells me there's an opportunity there, and a very good opportunity as well. As a matter of fact, we've been talking about the development of a broiler industry, where we can produce chicken here on the island of Nevis and in the Federation on a whole, and eliminate some of the millions of dollars that is spent on importing chicken into the Federation. As a matter of fact, between the years 2015 to 2019, we would have spent over $80 million worth, $80 million on the importation of chicken. So that is a glorious opportunity for us to capitalize on as well. But we need to be able to put the infrastructure in place. And it takes money. It takes millions of dollars. And I would want to say to the Premier now and the entire administration that that is an area that we'll have to exploit once we have these monies. We have to be able to put things on the ground that can provide returns for us in terms of jobs, revenue, and opportunities, business opportunities for our people and for our farmers. So those are some of the areas. As a matter of fact, in my constituency, I want to build a daycare and preschool center right in the camps area if I can find the land. And I say in the camps area because that is somewhat of a central point in my constituency where buses can pass by and drop off the children who would utilize such facility. I have already looked at an area where that can be done. Plus also in the Brooklyn area, in the event of a hurricane or some disaster, we don't have a community center, and I'm looking at possibly getting one constructed there. I'm just giving you some things that we are looking at, but on the overall picture, there are quite a number of infrastructure development that we can undertake here on the island of Nevis. Of course, the people of Westbury, Fountain, Mount Lily camps, they need their road done. And that will be a priority as well. And of course, finishing the Island Main Road up to Newcastle also. So there are lots of things we can do. The water taxi facility, we'll get that finished, of course. We had the initial funding from the SIDF to build that pier. We'll want to finish that. So there are many things we can finish. And many things we'll be able to finish because the people of Nevis have seen some seriousness in this administration and seriousness in our representation. And, the voters want to be associated with seriousness and an administration that is seeking to bring development to the island that would impact all and sundry. So I believe that those funds are needed, and that is why we're campaigning for this election to have our voice be heard once again in Bastille, to bring what we consider to be our fair share, to do our fair amount of work here. Because when people sit here and look over to St. Kitts, they say, they see this, they see that, all of it was done by CBI money. So if they can get roads done, if they can get infrastructural development done at the RLB, if they can get pier built, all of that can be done in Nevis as well, because those were done primarily with CBI monies, and we need our share to do likewise here in Nevis. So I rambled on, but listen, if I want to ramble on more, Eric won't get much done, the Premier won't get much done, I'll get all done myself, because I need all the money I can get to get the work.
Well, thank God I'm the Minister of Finance. So they could talk and say all that they want to say, but at the end of the day, based on how they're spending, we won't have anything left. But that light moment aside, Latoya, I think that the people of Nevis have some big issues to confront. If we're able to accomplish what we're seeking to accomplish, I think we need to pay down on our debt to give ourselves some breathing space. We have a major project that the Honorable Spencer Brand has proposed to do a highway from Long Point all the way around to Indian Castle, to open up thousands of acres of land in that area for development. That's a project that we would want to do. We've heard of the airport expansion, we've heard of the port expansion, but we also have promised the young people in Nevis that we want to develop a college of further education for them, separate and apart from the high school, the Charlestown Secondary School. We've identified a site that we've looked at, but again, we need the resources to develop that facility. We want to finish the hospital. Our intention is to make it a first-class facility, which can attract patients from around the world, certainly from around the region. We have significant investment to make in the development of renewable energy and geothermal energy in particular. And I believe that we could achieve all of what my colleagues have said and all of what I have suggested and still have a little money in the bank, because we're in the hurricane season now and we know not what tomorrow brings. And our old foreparents used to say, save something for a rainy day. So I believe that with a proper accounting of the proceeds from the Citizenship by Investment Program, the people of Nevis can be assured that we will have the necessary resources to implement what we are seeking to implement. I would like, for example, for Nevis to have its own version of the STEP program, where we could put our youngsters to work and actually teach them a skill, utilizing the new TVET Center in Gingerland and the one that is to be built in Charlestown. These are the developmental plans that we have to move our island forward as part and parcel of the forward thrust of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And we feel only with a government of real unity in Bastille can we achieve that.
Good. It's good to hear the projects that you have in mind for Nevisions. I think they wanted to hear those. So thank you for sharing. We will now have the closing remarks. Honorable Alexis Jeffers, we'll start with you.
Well, they normally say first, but I was the first and I'm the first again. But anyway, it was good to be here this evening, and I want to thank the persons who were viewing and listening, because even though we may not get a lot of interaction from the viewing and listening audience because the facility is not here or the infrastructure is not here for that, I know that they're listening and they are, digesting what we are imparting here through these microphones. I want to say to the people of Nevis, 9, 10, and 11, this is not the time or the point in our history to turn back the hands of time. We are on a pathway that we feel will work for this island. We have articulated that we are pressing hard and we are willing to stand up for what is rightfully ours. And any diversion from that, it means that we're going backwards and not forward. We have had 7 years at the federal level, but more so as a team, we have been there for the last 2 years. And there is something to show for that. And nobody can say that we haven't pressed the issue forward there in Bastille. You have heard many of the things that we can certainly do with our fair share. And indeed, if we were to realize our fair share, then Nevis would be on a pathway, a trajectory to bigger and better things to come. And we all want that as Nevisians, because we were born here, we live here, and we love where we were born. And we want to see the best for Nevis. And that is why I believe that we present the best and the most serious team that is on show in these elections. And I want the people of 9, 10, and 11, and more so 11, let me speak about 11. Because, of course, you have taken that chance on me. And because of that, I've been able to represent the constituency of Nevis 11, that is St. Thomas and St. James, at the federal level in Bastille. And the efforts are there to show. Many may say that, well, we could have seen you a little bit more often, if I were to say that at this point in time. But of course, we were hard at work. There are many challenges that we would have had to face on a day-to-day basis. But I make the commitment that I've always been there, whether in person or not. I've always had the best interests of the people of Nevis 11 at heart. And everything I do is all about Nevis 11 or Nevis. Because if it doesn't impact Nevis 11, it impacts the entire island of Nevis. And when we talk about all of these projects, some will come to Nevis 11, some will go to Nevis 9, some will go to Nevis 10. But ultimately, all of these constituencies make up the entire island of Nevis. So no one is being left behind here. So I am thankful for the opportunity to serve. I want to say thanks in advance to the people of Nevis 11 for reposing that confidence in me when the time comes in a few weeks. We are heading towards an election which will be announced shortly. But we'll continue on the journey. We'll continue to do the work that we have been elected to do, or that we were and we will be elected to do. And I'm very happy to serve. It is clear to anyone who knows me that I take service to my constituencies and also service to the island of Nevis and by extension to the Federation seriously. And that is why I believe that I've continued to win elections after elections, and the Premier would have mentioned some numbers. Well, let me say, I started in Nevis 11, losing by 268 in 2010, and I lost by, I believe it was 91 in 2015. But lo and behold, come 2020, I would have won by 197 votes. That is remarkable, and I expect to repeat that feat this time around again, because the bottom line is, it is the best representative that is out there seeking to be re-elected or elected. And that is why I believe that the choice is very easy, and the choice should be made for Alexis Jeffers in Nevis 11. CCM cannot have a complete team without Nevis 11. And that's how I'll leave it as that. So Nevis 11 has to be counted in numbers.
Honorable Eric Evelyn, your closing remarks.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for doing an excellent job again tonight. And of course, we want to thank all those who have stayed up with us, especially those from overseas who might be a couple hours ahead. And you have stayed with us. You always do. And I hope that you would have enjoyed the message that we have brought to you tonight. I want to thank those who are here in the audience. And of course, those who have been listening and viewing locally as well. It is always good to engage with the people and for the people. And I just want to say one simple message again tonight, that this is the A-team. This is the dream team that will bring to Nevis what we have been agitating for, what we truly deserve. And just following up on Alexis, I am very confident, very, very confident that we, all three of us, will be re-elected. You know, today I was in Charlestown, Alexis. A young lady from St. James met me and she said, "How do you feel about the election?" I said, "All three." She said, "But Eric, I don't know why they're watching 11 so. Why they after 11 so?" But then I get up. That's what she said. So, Alexis?
Speaking like a true champion, she was.
True champion. So I am fully confident that all three will be elected based on our message. I think our message is resonating and people are trusting us. People are believing us. And that's why I believe they will vote for us in overwhelming numbers. Remember, this is an important election. And all other persons sometimes they prefer not to vote for a federal, but this is a crucial federal election, and we are looking forward to your support for all of us.
Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Latoya, for hosting. Thank you for doing a wonderful job. Thank you for the audience, those who are here, those who are listening via radio or the various media outlets. I am just really humbled to be in this space at this point in time in our history. We are facing some challenging times, but I think we're up to the task. I think the people of Nevis see in us real representation, strong representation. In fact, someone said to me recently that they have never seen people stand up like this to be counted. And I felt that was a tremendous compliment to us in what we have sought to do. We are together, we are united, we are strong. And I believe that that is what the people of Nevis need at this point in time, that strength, that unity, that commitment, and that fortitude to go to Bastia and to do what is necessary to represent them and to represent the people of our island and the people of our country. We serve the people of Nevis, but we also serve the people of the Federation. And they have seen us, Eric and Alexis, only for the past 2 years, or I should say a year and 10 months. But they've seen me since 2007 in opposition and then in government. And I believe that they recognize in us that they have people who will work hard, people who will not shirk or say we don't want a portfolio, we want a portfolio. We want to work. We want the people to send us to work. And that is what we intend to do, to represent the people. And we're asking for the support of the good people of number 9, the good people of number 10, and the good people of number 11. We will be coming around to your doors. We'll be in your community. We'll be knocking. Please, if you have questions, ask us the hard questions. Because as Alexis said, when you're telling the truth, you don't need to worry about your memory because you're saying the same thing all the time. And we are committed to being the change that the country requires and ensuring that we get a government of real unity in Church Street in a few weeks' time. So gentlemen, enjoy the vacation. We're going to be back very soon. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Our journey continues to Cherry Gardens this Saturday at 8 p.m. We're asking you to join us. If you're unable to, please log on via our social media pages. We want to have you on board. We are open to any discussions, dialogues with you. But we want you to be a part of this journey with us. We cannot do it without you. Our representatives tonight has outlined many things, their projects. We've touched fair share. We've touched many issues. And so we want to continue to do the work for the people of Nevis. They are clearly here to serve you. But we cannot get to federal government without you. So we ask for your continued support. I want to thank all those who are viewing online, who are tuning into VON. We appreciate those who are actually here in person. We say thank you, good night, and God bless.
My name is Eric Evelyn, and I am running for the constituency of Nevis 10. And I'm here because I want to be re-elected to continue to serve the people of constituency Nevis 10 and the people of Nevis, and by extension, the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I believe that I have what it takes to represent and to represent well. I believe that representation requires commitment, dedication, passion, and service with compassion. I believe that I bring all of that and more. I believe that I bring the energy that is required to go to Bastille and to represent and represent well.
My name is Alexis Jeffers, and I am the proud representative of Nevis 11, which includes St. Thomas and St. James. I have been the representative of this proud constituency since June of 2020. You have said in the past that you needed quality representation. You needed serious representation and dedicated representation, which was lacking for 20 years prior to 2020. So I'm asking the people of St. James and St. Thomas Parish once again to repose your confidence, your trust in me once again to go back to Bastille and champion your cause there as your representative of Nevis 11.
My name is Mark Brantley, and I'm the proud leader of the Concerned Citizens Movement and the exceedingly proud representative of the people of District 9, comprising the parishes of St. John's and St. Paul's. Since 2007, the people of Number 9 have voted for me consistently and have sent me to Bastille. Election after election, they have reposed their trust and confidence in me. Some say, why should we send you to Bastille? I think the answer is simple, that in me you have someone who is committed, someone who's dedicated, and someone who's strong. Someone who will stand up in Bastille for what is best for my constituents and best for the island of Nevis.